only took a year and a half of doing the show before you got the idea to put a cooler next to you.
I got the idea because my family's still awake because it's like the sun is out basically here. And so I was like, I don't want to be going in and out and then like getting distracted. So let me just get a cooler. And then you're right. I thought like, dude, I should just do this every week. I'm the idiot that always leaves and goes and walks away.
What does it say about me that the first thing I thought was he's hiding his consumption of alcoholic beverages from his family who's still awake right now?
I think they call that an alcoholic.
I think that's right. Oh, Christina says we're now taking cooler sponsors as well. Is there a brand on the cooler that you'd like to?
Rubbermaid. Rubbermaid.
Rubbermaid. Okay, nice. Somebody tag Rubbermaid quick.
Can you see it? There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. Jeez, Kyle. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that one.
Okay, yeah. So,
hey, our guest is like really pestering me to get on here quick. So.
Oh, well, whenever's clever, man. Do you have any thoughts about as we warm up here and let people come in? Do you have any thought? Because people are not used to this time for us, right? This is an unusual Saturday night episode. Welcome everybody to the crossover. It's Saturday, October 9th. Do you have any thoughts about recording during the daylight?
I secretly hope this flops so that we can go back to the normal time. But that's, it's just a little early for me. I'm on the West Coast. That's my fault. Like, I understand. But as I've said, this show is like kind of your and my time to relax and decompress the week and talk about cards and have fun with it. And I do that better, at night. But I think this will be fun. I'm excited to try it, and I'm open to it.
And what about the fight tonight? Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Do you watch boxing? Do you care?
No, I don't know anything about boxing or UFC. I think that Tyson Fury is like wildly favored, I believe, maybe.
Yeah, he's a huge favorite.
Okay. Yeah.
Huge favorite. Okay. All right. Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to get into a question or two, or bring our guest on, or how do you want to do this?
I think he's in the chat. If you're there, go ahead and request, and we can start that, and then we'll get into the questions.
Sounds good. Yeah, we have a small guest for you guys tonight. No biggie. What's up, Rob? What's up, Jordan? Fat Snacks. Yes.
Can you invite him? Can you invite him through here? Or does he have to request?
Here he comes.
Okay.
The invitation has been sent, or accepted, I should say.
What's up?
Oh,
there he is.
Going on?
He's got cards ready. Are those to be graded cards?
No, these are my raw sets.
Raw sets? You collect raw?
Yeah. I mean, it's mainly stuff that's not worth grading.
Oh, gotcha. How's it going, man?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
I mean, it's early. Well, now we got some people in the room. All right, we're up to 200. This is early for me. It's late for you guys, so I'm you guys are probably going to sleep. I'm wide awake.
Someone just asked. I'm eating dinner. I'm eating Skittles.
Oh. Marshawn Lynch style. Yeah. Well, so we haven't had you on the show before. So why don't you, for anyone that maybe hasn't seen your stuff, why don't you just talk about you as a collector first? Give us a tiny background into you, and then we'll jump into some PSA stuff, and we have some other questions for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big '90s collector, basketball mainly. I've been collecting for a long time, since I was a little kid. I do '90s basketball, vintage baseball, wax, like unopened boxes. I've got tons of it around me. Like '97 Upper Deck, stuff like that. Mainly stuff that I remember as a kid. I've started to get into like a little bit of football, like Brady, Manning, some of the big Hall of Famers. And then I do like player collectors. Like I'm PCs on like Mantle, Nolan Ryan, like some of my Nolan I remember as a kid, but some of the biggest, baseball Hall of Famers.
You've been doing a lot of like modern basketball too recently, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a few sets. Well, actually, here's an example of a set I'm doing. So this is like '98 metal PMG precious metal gems. can't really see it with the reflection, but that's an example. But yeah, like ultra modern, I'm doing like 2012 gold prism. That's Austin Rivers. I think Grant got me that one. I'm doing the gold prism sets mainly. I don't really mess around with any players. I have a little bit of Luka. I mean, if LeBron, you consider. I've been collecting LeBron hardcore since 03. Thankfully, I went in hard on his rookies back then, just because I thought he was the next Jordan or Kobe or whatever.
But I said modern basketball, and you're still thinking like late 90s. Can you maybe talk about how you think more in terms of collecting some of the older players because either you think they're safer or like, what is your take on that?
No, Josh froze a bit. Josh, are you there, bud?
Yes. What did I miss?
Fire
I heard
the question again.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I asked you about modern, and you kind of talked about late 90s, so I'm interested to know like kind of what you think about, focusing on older players, more established players versus the prospecting game, because I'm sure you see a lot of people get into the ultra modern prospecting of these young guys, and just kind of getting your take on that and why you focus more on some of the older stuff.
Yeah, I mean the old stuff is hard to beat if you're like investing purely on value. Like if you're not just in it for collecting purely. I mean you can be collecting and investing obviously, but especially with baseball, like I would argue the really ultra modern guys like Acuna and Tatis, like they're awesome, but if you want something to go up, for the next 50 years, like buy Mickey Mantle or Babe Ruth. I mean, obviously it's easier said than done. Those are expensive cards, but like even low grade, like I was just looking on memory lane, like there's an authentic altered Mantle 52 tops, which is, acquirable. Like it's cheaper than like, a lot of the Zion and Luka cards people are springing for. So I don't know. That's the way in basketball too. I mean, that was never really the case, but like you go back, you can do like Maravich, Mikan, Bill Russell, like, pretty obtainable cards, frankly. I think vintage basketball is super underrated as an investment. There's not a lot of collectors chasing it. Like you go on the PSA set registry, there's way fewer sets on vintage basketball than there is on baseball, football too. And so I'm doing a lot. I have them around me. I can grab some, but I've got a lot of vintage basketball boxes, which I personally think they're like art. Like they're just super cool. But I would just, I mean, if you're into prospecting, fine. But it's like buying like the blue chip stocks. Like that stuff will just go up. It's not going to triple. Like every year, like like Luka did. But it'll beat the S&P probably for the next 10 years.
Yeah, show us the card, Chris.
Yeah. See, everybody thinks that card, you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to play ball, but like, you can get a card. I mean, again, that's a lot of money, but you see people buying cards worth way more than that on these modern guys who played, less than 100 games.
I mean, that's less than like an Optic Contenders.
Right. Right.
Which is like, the vintage stuff is interesting because Chris and I talk about it all the time where like the market cap of those players overall is so low because they just don't have as many cards, or people are buying like the 50th best card of one of these younger guys rather than buying, the absolute only choice you have for a Wilt Chamberlain or a Julius Erving or something like that.
Yeah, no doubt. You might find this cool, by the way. I was going through, I told Grant about this. I was going through we just moved and it's going to sound obnoxious, but like I didn't know where all my cards were. And I opened a box of like a storage box. And most of my cards were raw. Anyway, I found in 0304, I put together a raw set of 0304 Exquisite. Missing the LeBron I'd gotten graded years ago. It was like an 8, whatever, back BGS 8. But every other card I have right here, they're all raw. Like Jordan, base, Kobe base, all that stuff.
When I had you on the show, you revealed that you hadn't seen your 9.5 Exquisite set, and you like showed that on your show, and now you're showing us your raw set that you remembered you have.
Yeah, well, the BGS set was very incomplete. This is like actually every card.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the BGS 9.5s, I didn't have that many of. maybe 20 or so. And a lot of commons like Steve Francis and stuff. But anyway, they're just on my desk because I found them. I thought it was cool. But they're in like the top, I put them in one touches maybe 10 years ago, but they're in there like, you know, there are no scratches, you know, I haven't even looked at them. So kind of cool. Jason Capono. So.
Chris, you got any questions?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so Nat, your 90s Jordan collection is kind of like a checklist of that a lot of us reference. But it doesn't seem like you've added too many 90s Jordan Grails recently. Like, are you still pursuing those?
Yeah, there's like maybe I have it actually here. I'll pull it up. I have it on my Flickr forever. I had it listed like my want list. I basically stopped going after the common ones, like the low value ones, like the base card. Like I had most of them, but I don't know. Frankly, storage became an issue where I just didn't have enough space for all the like graded random Jordan cards.
Mm-hmm.
According to my Flickr, I have 961 graded Jordan cards, which is low because I've not scanned them all, and I have a lot of raw ones that have yet to be graded. But I'm still searching for the Epic Signatures Gold out of 2398. Let's see. There's a bunch of autos. Like I sold a couple like an idiot because someone really wanted one, the 96 Authentics, like the brown, like wood looking one. A bunch of the 98 game jersey autos. You know, I have one or two, but as you know, there's a bunch of variations out of 23. Like basically it's just some of the really big ones that frankly don't come up that often. The Gym Master, I mean, I know who has it, the 98, 98 that I'm, you know, I've got like, you know, I'll hopefully get it one day, but it's my buddy and, you know, whenever he's ready. The biggest one I'm missing, frankly, is the Flair Masterpiece from 97. I picked, well, the same guy who was the Gym Masters was kind enough to get me two of them. And then he actually found the third one years ago. So let's see. Yeah, I've got row 2, row 0, row 1. So I need row 3. And then the 97 Masterpiece Ultra, which was posted on Blowout at one point. Mm-hmm. Same guy had the Grant Hill credentials now. I don't know where that card ended up.
That was the yellow line through the card. Remember that?
So anyway, if you guys know where any of those cards are, I'm looking for them.
Do you have all the like rubies, PMGs? That's all done.
Yeah.
Ultra Star Gold. Man.
Oh yeah, I've had all those for 10 plus years.
Okay. Yeah. Now you did a lot of acquiring those 5-10 years ago. How is it different picking up cards, hunting cards 5 or 10 years ago versus today?
Honestly, I was talking to a buddy about this the other night. The biggest difference is like back then, which isn't that long ago actually. Like, you know, I was doing deals in 03 too, and it was even more different. But a lot of these deals weren't done like they are today. So, for example, like I can think of like 30 examples where I like met up with people at the airport with a briefcase full of money, or like in the lobby of a bank, or like at Starbucks with, you know, like a lot, you know, there just wasn't a lot of like trust online. Like you had Blowout, which like, and well, it's really Hobby Kings actually at the time. And then eBay, which was a disaster, you know, at the time. I mean, there was like, and you know, there's a lot of issues still today. It's getting better. Like no one trusted PayPal, friends and family, or even PayPal. There's just a lot of like more manual deals, like in person. I went to a lot of shows back then, and did deals then, like, you know, on the side. Frankly, the prices, like back then, you know, I was blowing people out of the water just because I didn't care, and I was like, but it wasn't that much money. It was like $6,000 for a card that I knew was going to be like $100,000 in 10 years because it's freaking Jordan. It's like an autograph. Like, how is that not going to be more valuable? So, you know, if you had the money, which thankfully I had some, I was like, all right, like I'm just going to buy every card I need. And not it sounds obnoxious, like
literally, you're not exaggerating there.
No, but like in the grand scheme of things, it was a good investment. I knew a lot of people knew. I'm not like a genius. Like there were a few other people chasing these cards too, but people were bickering over like, oh, that card's $5,000, not $6,000. Like who cares? Like, like when the basis is so low, it didn't really matter. Like the most expensive card I paid back then was $60,000 for my Jordan Essential Credentials Now at a 9. And I remember being like, oh my God, what did I just do? But I needed it.
The most famous blowout post to me is you posting the GIF of Elaine after you won the PMG Jordan.
I forgot that, actually.
Yeah, I remember that very well.
Well, that was years later. That was like, that was maybe like 8 years after I started chasing the Jordan stuff.
Yeah.
So
And I had missed out on like 4 of them in between then and when I started. So.
Right.
We've been talking recently about, I don't want to talk about NFTs, but the topic has come up that like NFTs have this built-in thing that's better about them because there's no friction and there's no, like you were describing the manual part of it. Basically, do you prefer the manual part of it and sort of the burden that comes along with having to hunt and find this stuff, in an analog world? Or do you see a world in which it becomes more digital because everyone likes it that way?
Yeah, I'm really torn on this. I mean, honestly, there's something like really like romantic about the chase and the like emails and like, is this guy legit? And like, can you send it to my friend who like is the intermediary? And like, or can we meet up at JFK and like Terminal C and I'll be in the black SUV with like, money and like, I actually remember and appreciate that more than like even the card that I now have, right? In many ways, like a person, I get disappointed when a card shows up on eBay that I need because I'm like, shit, pardon my language, like I'm not gonna, I could lose the EX Future LeBron 101. Like I've been searching for that for freaking 17 years, and it goes up on eBay and I can't get my bid in. I'm like, had I been more successful finding it in a private manner, so. I don't know, the digital side, I mean, I think it's necessary because like where cards have gone, this is where I'm torn. Like cards are certainly an asset class now. Like if we want it to kind of stay there and be respected, it needs to kind of resemble stocks and whatever and be more liquid, for sure. But it's going to take away some of that like romanticism or whatever of the chase. I mean, that'll still exist. Like I know a lot of people who are like, they don't want cards to become like sneakers. Which I'm not a sneakerhead, but like, I can appreciate that. You don't want to commoditize the crap out of this stuff. That's the one beauty of cards is every card's unique, even PSA 10s and BGS 95s. Like they're not all created equal. So if you put, the companies that like have one scan for 25 PSA 10s, like to me, that's an example where it's like one step too far in the digital, transformation of cards. I don't know if that makes sense, but.
You have to think about this more than the average person, because you're in a role where you're going to have to think about both. So how do you approach that, like from the perspective of the CEO of PSA? How do you weigh the fact that this is, something for collectors, people like the three of us who like the romanticism, but also you need to think about how to grow the business. How do you approach that?
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm the head CEO of Collectors Universe. We have a head of PSA, Steve, who's in charge of it. But it's a fun challenge because at the end of the day we're here to service collectors and we focus on being the best we can at grading and authentication and then collector services, things like set registry, inventory management. I don't know if you saw, but we have official images now live. We're going to announce it this week. If you log in, you'll see it. So we're taking photos of most cards now and they show up when your set registry and your inventory. So you don't have to, I spend 2 hours a day freaking scanning cards like an idiot. That's going to get replaced. But that's an example where like that kind of stuff is like imagery, pricing, like what you guys are doing, like that kind of stuff. It's core to like the modern collector. Like it used to be, you'd put all this stuff in binders and in a dark room, like with a glass of wine, you'd invite friends down to look at cards. Like you didn't care, but now that like people are putting real dollars behind it and, we have to have tools that, help people be better collectors and investors simultaneously. So we're going down the path. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the most difficult decision at all. It's the most requested feature of PSA is to have, a better, digital experience. They want the site registry to be better. They want our mobile apps to be better. They want, all sorts of information. They want our pop reports to be more useful. They want more information on their cards, why they got certain grades. It's all, good feedback and ideas, and we're taking it seriously. So we need more engineers.
You can cut me off, Chris, if you got something. I got one more. If you guys are focused on, you said it pretty direct. You said that you guys want to be the best at what you're doing now, which is grading cards and, the registry, and you're kind of like focused on that vertical. And, there's obviously the news of Fanatics coming in and talking about this whole one-stop shop. What is your take on maybe the role that PSA will play in this new world of someone trying to take over everything? Do you think that Fanatics is going to want to play nicely with everybody, or does PSA need to start competing in terms of doing it all? Like, I don't want to corner you here, but what do you think?
Nice small question on a Saturday night.
The board members are watching right now, so be careful.
Yeah, I'll tell you that as a collector, I'll separate it. So as a collector, I would say nervous. I think it's really important that Fanatics gets it right. What I mean is like, I don't want to see Fanatics cards. I don't think anybody wants to see like new brands. And I mean, this is like the old people, the old guys, like they don't like change. But, so on one side, like I hope, and I think they are, like they need to be focused on getting it right first, like card manufacturing, before worrying about anything else. Cause that's the like the joke I've been using is like there's a dam with water behind it, and all of us are downstream, not just PSA but everyone else, and they get to decide how much water comes out, the quality of the water. It's the best analogy I can come up with. And like you could be in the 80s and just freaking open it and flood everybody out, and no one cares, because at the end of the day, it's cardboard. It's a perception of value. If they make the wrong cardboard or too much of it, it's not going to be good. But, the good news there is like they're very incentivized to get it right. So I'm optimistic. I'm nervous, like just as a collector. But I think they will. I mean, they've publicly talked about how they want to, preserve and, kind of be a good steward of the hobby. So as far as all the other things, I mean, so now switching to PSA, I would say, look, like my goal with the company is to continue to be the leading third-party authenticator and grader. I personally view those things as very different. No, we're not going to get in the card manufacturing business at PSA. I think that's a totally different kind of like part of the value chain that frankly most people would probably say needs to be separate, from a conflict perspective. So, we're going to continue to invest as much as we can, which from where the company was a year or two ago, we are plowing money into R&D, hiring aggressively. We're not resting on our laurels or doing anything like that. So, our plan is to be the best authentication company we can be and provide additional services that help collectors be better collectors. And card manufacturers just need to do a good job producing great cards. And again, as a collector, I'm excited, to see. I was asking for change. I got a lot of crap from my tweet about Panini, but like, I'm freaking tired of sticker autos and jerseys that aren't getting worn or can't be promised that they're the same player, or like opening a National Treasures box and the best card is like a Tony Kukoc, autographed sticker, and it was like a $4,000 box. Like, my soapbox collector rant. But like back in 2003 and Exquisite, like you were getting good stuff. Like every case, I opened the whole case of NT and literally got nothing. Like that's not how high-end products should be built. And it's and I can go on and on and on. So competition is a good thing in cards. We went away from that, and if anything, we're moving in the opposite direction, less competition. So I'm super curious how it all plays out. I'm optimistic because I think the people at Fanatics are actually very smart, and like they've proven that they can do great things with the leagues. I'm excited. They have a lot of great player relationships where hopefully that'll translate to like cool cards, autographs, that's exciting. I really hope they can partner with these iconic brands though. So.
I think we've hit him with enough heavy ones for a Saturday night, Josh.
Hey, give him a break. I'm coming in hot tonight, so go give him a break.
No, I mean, look, I don't know how much more time you have, Matt.
I mean, it's early for me now. I never join because you're always so late.
I know. I know.
It's a reasonable time now.
How do you follow modern baseball? I heard you talk about Tatis and Acuna and stuff. Are you a big baseball fan?
Oh, I'm a huge baseball fan. Yeah, I've been watching the Braves game today and Astros yesterday. Well, my son's a big Yankees fan. We went to a bunch of games. I love the sport. I have kind of gotten so I wait like 3 or 4 years in baseball for like rookies to break out. It's just, I don't know why. I can't get into like the prospecting on the guys before they're in the league, which is kind of how that sport works, as you know. So I've gotten into Acuna, Ohtani, Trout. Trout's older, obviously. That's kind of it. A little bit of Tatis, but not in a big way. I love watching the game, especially playoffs. I don't know, the ultra modern stuff in baseball hasn't I don't know, it hasn't really like called to me. I pick up basically the guys I like the Bowman Chrome parallel autos. That's about it. They need more stuff.
I think that's the most we've ever talked about baseball on the crossover. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
I recognize the names. That's about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm like 90% basketball. Is my attention span cards for sure.
Do you watch basketball a lot as well? You're involved in the actual game.
Oh yeah. I mean, I haven't really talked about this, but I think I watched every game LeBron played in from 2003 until probably when he left the Heat. Like every single one, religiously.
Yes, me too.
Yeah. Like I had, league pass and every night. Yeah. I mean, I have little kids now. Like I definitely watch a game every night during the season, but I used to watch like,
Right.
2 or 3 or 4 at a time, like, multiple screens and stuff. But, I do a lot of box score following, a lot of highlight tracking with Instagram and stuff like that.
You can keep talking about LeBron if you want. I mean, give the man some space to keep going. I mean,
do you have any picks, any favorite teams for the NBA season this year? Possible title favorites?
Well, Josh is going to hate this, but Westbrook's one of my least favorite players in the world. So I am, and my second least favorite player is Carmelo Anthony.
I can't stand Carmelo.
And the Lakers managed to get both. I basically root for whoever team LeBron's on, and so I'm from Houston, so I like the Rockets, but like Westbrook and Carmelo went there and ruined. And Harden's my third least favorite player. So the Rockets, yes. So anyway, I'm hopeful that LeBron, he doesn't have that much time left physically. I'm very hopeful, but the Nets are and the Bucks. I mean, I would say both of them are going to be those three. I don't know. I don't think the Clippers are for real anymore. Kawhi doesn't care.
Well, there's no Kyrie this year.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. I keep hearing he's got the vaccine. I don't know. The guy's a basket case. I don't know what to say. He's so much fun to watch. Like in 15 with LeBron, like that was amazing. But yeah.
Yeah, that's all LeBron. That's what I'm going to say about that.
What?
That's just all LeBron. That's just his credit. He just somehow managed to keep that guy straight and narrow somehow.
When people look back truly at LeBron, at his stats and how many finals he's not going to have 6 rings probably, but the body of work over that, he's probably going to break the scoring record, I would think, Kareem's. Yeah. And how many finals in a row? 9?
Yeah. A lot of it is that he came up in the social media world, right? And he had all this expectation. And as you know, in the social media era, people just love to destroy you and watch you fail. And it's just, he's got a little bit of arrogance to him where people really like watching him lose and suffer. So, I think eventually people, and the whining, yeah.
Yeah.
But when he's retired, people are going to look back and look at his stats and, he almost averaged a triple-double with 34 points in the finals. I don't know.
No doubt. Well, all right, so we got in a baseball question. We got in a basketball question. Rodman in the chat, our buddy Rodman Martinez wants to know, do you watch or collect soccer?
No. No, I don't. I don't own a single soccer card. I think it's actually, so I just finished writing my editorial for the PSA magazine. It's coming out. It's going to be a soccer focused issue. I had to do a lot of research in order to write that editorial. Um,
Like
but
they
to
kicked the
give you,
ball, I think.
yeah. Well, I was like, soccer. They're like, you should probably say it's also football. I'm like, oh, yeah. But an interesting stat for you is, actually, I'll ask you, what percent of the total PSA graded cards, which is roughly 35 million, is soccer?
Hmm.
And
The
that number's
world's
obviously
largest sport.
it's gone up obviously in the last few years, but I still think it's low. Like, oh man, I don't want to embarrass myself. 5%?
0.9.
Oh,
Yeah.
and what? Oh my, that okay. And it was probably like 0.5 2 years ago.
Yeah, so the crazier thing, exactly, it doubled from January of this year to now. So in the last 9 months, the total pop of soccer cards at PSA has doubled in 9 months.
I mean, there wasn't really much choice, right? Other than like Panini kind of picking it up. Before that, I'm not familiar with that much because it was mostly like stickers, I believe. So I don't know that there's much even opportunity to grade that much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I mean, we see at the National, like you maybe saw in the picks, I don't know if you saw that thing I did, but like we saw a ton of soccer cards come in at the National. Like easy 10, 15, 20% of what we in total graded was soccer. So it is like up and to the right this way. For, I would say the interest in cards. And I personally think vintage soccer cards have so much upside. I think it's like vintage baseball was like 10 years ago, which is quadrupled. Like if you look at mantle prices, they've easily 4 or 5x in 10 years. I think you're going to see the same thing for like I don't even know how to pronounce some of these names, but like Maradona or however pronounce it,
Right.
Pele, the equivalents of MJ and all that. I'm sure Messi, Ronaldo are similar. Again, the prices have been really high lately, but it's the world's largest sport. And at the end of the day, I mean, cricket's right up there too, but at the end of the day, card prices tend to follow the popularity of the sport. I mean, not perfectly, but the global nature. I mean, the problem is the U.S. doesn't have the demand for it yet, but there's a lot of very wealthy countries that do. So something to watch.
Yeah. Now, when DJ Kazmierzak from Panini was on Ken Golden's show, Ken sort of gave credit to Panini for helping to grow the soccer category, and I think Kazmierzak confirmed that as well. That like Panini getting into soccer really like helped soccer cards take off, and now Panini has pivoted hard into UFC. What do you think about the future prospects of the UFC subcategory of the broader sports card category?
Yeah, honestly, we're seeing tremendous growth on the grading side from UFC. It's noticeable. Like when you walk around the office and you're looking at submissions on the shelves and stuff, like it's everywhere. It kind of reminds me of like Pokemon and some of the trading card games like 4 or 5 years ago. Like it's kind of, you just feel it. You feel the momentum of the demand. Meaning of the grading demand. I don't know about prices. I don't track prices, but it starts with manufacturers. To the earlier conversation with the dam and water, like as long as they're doing a good job of producing products ranging from entry level to high end exclusive stuff, and they have a nice value range spectrum where anyone can play. I think they're getting it right. For UFC, I think soccer too. Like you're seeing a lot of like the high end Prism, the parallels, the autographs, still stickers, a lot of it. But in soccer, it's making a big difference in value, just the differentiation. Because for years, the soccer stuff was just stickers. But, they've really turned that around.
How about American football? You said you jumped into Manning and Brady. What about just sort of the space as a whole and Mahomes? How about just like football in general?
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention, non-sports is something we really notice at PSA, like the Marvel stuff. Their PMGs, like we're seeing Fortnite cards, gaming card, like, that kind of stuff we saw a lot of it at the National too. Just want to point that out. I'm not a Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh expert, Digimon or any of that stuff, but it is 20+% of our volume now, PSA, or those trading card games. Like crushes soccer, that sort of stuff. But so American football, I mean, it's America's biggest sport. I think I'm into Mahomes, like crazy prices on this high-end flawless national treasures. So we're seeing a ton of the high-end stuff come in, the Panini Prisms. We don't see enough vintage football, which I was saying before, I think is a big opportunity for folks. We graded a 10 Walter Payton rookie 76 tops at the National, which was really cool. But, the Jim Brown stuff, frankly, any of the QBs back then, Namath, I would say vintage, like pre-80, huge opportunity, in my opinion, on investment side. So I've certainly started to dabble. I have a lot of boxes from football, like 64, 65 Philadelphia, tops from 60. I have 65, I have 59, and then up through 70 tops. And there's by the way, there's 51, 52 Bowman football packs, just like baseball. Yeah. Like they're on eBay from time to time. Like that stuff is gold, in my opinion, because of how popular the sport is. The modern stuff, like I said, it reminds me a lot of basketball. I mean, prospecting on rookies, the rookies go straight into the league. You're seeing that with Kyler Murray. It's just my problem with it, it's so hit or miss. Like, it's so binary. The average career of a football player is like 2.5 years. In basketball, it's got to be, if you pick like a lottery pick, chances are he's going to have like at least a mediocre career. Like, in football, like if you pick Sam Darnold, like you're going to literally have a worthless card. Or my friend, like Sam Bradford, like I bought some of his stuff back then. Like, it's not worth anything now. Tim Tebow, so on. So like you got to be careful in football. But if you choose Mahomes, if you choose these guys, Kyler Murray, like it can be. It's just like basketball on the upside. So yeah.
I got a question from Jordan Hagedorn in the chat. He wants to know, how important is the card shop and the card show experience in the hobby today, shops and shows?
I think it's really important. I think it's undervalued. I think that's one thing that I think a lot of people are nervous about with the Fanatics thing is I really do hope that they embrace, the kind of local card shop. I still take my son to our local card shop at least once a month out here. And I take him to shows when they were open, like up in Westchester, in the New York area. The National, you were there. It's like freaking Super Bowl for guys like us and people like us. Like, it's awesome. So I don't know if that's going to change. There's not much that could change that. But the local shops, frankly, they need to innovate too. Like, a lot of them kind of have a pawn shop feel to them. Still, you're seeing like the Cards and Coffee, you see Loop, what they're doing in Miami, you see Bleecker trading in New York. Like, there's a lot of examples. I had some people come up to me at the National with business plans on their new shops, and they're like super cool looking and modern. They're more built around like content and breaking, kind of like offline, online. They're selling wax, they're selling singles, but they're diversifying, they're becoming grading, group submitters. They're being clever. I think shops need to innovate, but I don't want them to go away. That's how I got into it, man. Like, I went into my local card shop like every freaking day I could as a kid.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Okay, I have to get a question in too. This one's from Corey of Show Your Slabs. This was a big debate on Clubhouse last weekend. Who is the GOAT of the GOATs, Michael Jordan or Tom Brady?
I gotta say Jordan.
Okay. Correct answer.
I was gonna say, don't fuck this up.
How many players on a football team? Like 50 something?
Oh, are you saying Tom Brady's overrated?
Oh
boy, sorry.
Is that what you said? Wait, Belichick gets all the credit?
No, definitely not. No. No, he didn't get the credit, but I'll tell you, I picked Jordan for sure. No question.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, then Brady or LeBron?
Brady. Yeah.
Hey, am I allowed to boo people out of this, or is it just you?
Look, I'm like one of the biggest LeBron. I'm like one of the biggest LeBron collectors in the world, and I have to say, like, I love LeBron. The issue with LeBron is he didn't have Pippen, he didn't have Phil Jackson. Had he had those two guys, like championships matter in the NBA, way more, in my opinion. 7-game series, like you really got to win those games.
He's still somehow managed to get, yeah.
That's what I'm saying before. I think we're going to look back and LeBron's going to be underrated. But as of right now, you got to give it to Brady on that one. But
all right. I mean, that's like a pretty good recovery, I think.
Okay, Kelvin, Luka Doncic PC wants to know, Luka or Mahomes?
Oh.
As far as like whose cards will be worth more in the future or what?
I mean, you could factor that in, but I just think he's more like, which athlete are you more impressed with so far type of thing.
Oh. I'm personally impressed by Mahomes more than – I think Luka's got a crazy good game. I love watching him. He's the only guy I've really invested in post-LeBron in a big way. But Mahomes kind of seems like he's changing the game, which is hard to do. Luka's like a less athletic LeBron.
It was nice knowing you, Nat.
I'm trying to make sure Nat offends at least one of the collectors of this call.
Hey, I'm gonna give Nick the clap for the edit clap. He needs to find that clip right there, that little quote right there. He's like a less athletic LeBron. That's great. All right, this is fun.
He's gonna be great.
And in 10 years, I'll make sure to show it to everyone when he's proven wrong.
Christina's fired up.
But as Nat pointed out, you need a Phil Jackson, you need a Scottie Pippen. That's the problem for Luka right now, right?
Among others.
Kristaps isn't going to get it done. Sorry.
Probably not. No, probably not. Oh, no, Cage, we can't ask that question, man.
Okay, Giannis or Mahomes? We always talk about those two being parallel of their sport because Giannis has one ring, Mahomes has one. They both kind of they started a little bit of a slow start in their rookie years, and then they just like blew up. What about those two?
Same age as well.
Yeah, Giannis is one of like the maybe my biggest miss as a collector. Like I just have never been into him. I think I don't have like his base Prism rookie card that I pulled. I got a 10, thankfully. I don't even have like a silver Prism. So I'm not a Giannis fan. I think he's just like he's a total freak of nature. It's so much fun to watch. Like I saw his clip the other day where he took one dribble from half court to dunk. Like any of us on this call would take us like 23 of them. Like we'd probably like roll an ankle. They're similar. They're changing the game like with their athleticism and their skills. I don't know. I still have to go with Mahomes. I mean, he's so much fun to watch. Giannis is kind of like I don't know. It's like playing a different sport, which is like crazy. Like some of the stuff he can do. But so is Mahomes.
He'll just be in the paint, and it's like there's three guys around him, and all of a sudden he just dunked it. It's like, how did you even?
How does that happen? Yeah.
How are you dunking that ball?
The thing that blows me is like, how are his three brothers not like even like mediocre? Like,
is Giannis the oldest? No, he's not. Thanasis is older, right?
I'm not sure.
It's maybe Giannis just like kept making them like give him the ball like when they were kids. He just got all
He's the biggest one. I know, the tallest one. Yeah.
He makes LeBron look small. It's the weirdest thing. I'm like, because I'm so used to LeBron just bullying people, and it's like, wow, this guy's big.
The first time I went to, they lost. I was in San Francisco. I don't remember what game it was or even the year, but it was when KD and them the Warriors beat. I was at the game when the Warriors won the series. I was sitting next to KD's mom. I hated it. It was like the worst game ever because I wanted, obviously, LeBron to win. But I remember watching. It was the first time I'd seen KD and LeBron guard each other live. And, like, LeBron looked so small compared to KD just in height. LeBron would shoot and KD would, like, literally be right there in, like, LeBron had to work hard to get the shot off, and he played great. LeBron did, obviously. No one else did on his team. But that's what it looks like with Giannis. Like KD and him are very similar in like their length and size. They're very different players, obviously, but yeah, it's just super interesting to watch Giannis. It's like the only time I've ever seen that is KD. Just like they don't look like the same build as anyone else on the court.
Okay, Sniper Man is Jimmy, our guy, wants to know PMG or exquisite.
Oh, PMG, not even a question.
Wow, there you go, Jimmy.
Nice.
There you go. I don't know, Josh. What do you say about that, man?
I agree.
Oh.
I mean, I wouldn't like say it as quickly as you did because I think it might be taken as like offending exquisite because I think they're both fantastic, but I agree.
Yeah, exquisite's great. I love exquisite. But PMG is just, I don't know, so iconic. I have this belief, by the way, it's like an investing belief too, that things become vintage. It's not really mine, it's not rocket science, but I read it probably somewhere, that things become vintage after 25 years. And, you know, like look at cars, like value goes down, but then after 25 years, value actually starts to go up because something's vintage. You look at anything, honestly, it becomes really collectible. So exquisite's 18 years old, and guess how old PMGs are this year?
25.
First team. Yep.
96.
You got it. Good question. A lot of people would have said 24 because of 97, but there is a PMG set from 96. That's right.
We were at National in 2019. We were sitting at a table, and these younger kids came up to us. It was like me and Justin and Rodman, a couple other people. We had our 90s stuff out, and these kids are like, "Oh, cool, nice vintage cards." And we were like, "What vintage?" It's like what? And we were kind of like, maybe it is vintage. You know, like maybe we're the old guys now.
Dude, my cousin today asked me what was MySpace like. Swear to God.
That's
like, yeah, I mean, well, they are. I mean, like, in a way, like, it's crazy. Like, the Brady stuff I'm playing, he's still playing. Those cards are 21 years old.
Yeah.
Like, that. So anyway, values, like, we see this at PSA. Like, you see sets. Like, people don't start doing the sets and sending the commons in until about 25 years later.
What do you think about, like, that odd range of, like, 2000 to 2002, and then also 2004 to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of in the
years. Yeah.
What do you think about those cards? Maybe like Hall of Fame players that didn't have rookie years there. What do you think about those?
Yeah, it's an undervalued set. Like, I'm doing the O2 finest gold refractor set. Like, I'm picking up base cards for like $2. Commons. They're now like, they're way inflated now. They're like $7 on average. But LeBron's XRC is in there, so that kind of elevates the set. But it's beautiful. But like a lot of people, you probably know, what's the first finest gold refractor set?
In 2002.
99 out of 100.
Oh, okay.
So like you got Vince Carter second year, you've got Kobe third year, you've got some real. That's a set that doesn't get a lot of credit. Jordan's out of the league. You've got some Hall of Famers in there. There's no good rookies. You had, who's that? Was that no, that wasn't Ola Candy. You had I don't even remember. After Duncan after Carter and McGrady and Dirk, it's like, there's no one until LeBron really.
Yeah. What about
but
everybody complains to Chris and I, like, everything's too expensive. I can't find cool stuff anymore. And we're constantly trying to find like years or sets or things that like other people aren't thinking about. It's interesting that you're doing the same.
Well, I'll tell you, it's like I posted this on Instagram. I've had a belief for years that like if you pick iconic sets, like for example, the first 96, first Topps Chrome refractors, 96, and it just so happens, by the way, Kobe. So this goes all the way back to 52. So it's the first kind of like, red backs and blue backs in 51 from Topps, but 52 Topps, it coincided with Mantle. You go to 96, you've got, Upper Deck, Griffey. You got, like coincides with these big rookies, Exquisite. First time ever, LeBron. And so you pick these sets where there's like an iconic card, and I truly believe that all the other cards in that set get elevated in many ways. And so like you see this with 96 Topps Chrome. So here's an example, is like the Bowman Chrome Gold set from 03. Like, Slavko Vranis. Like, I paid like $90 for this freaking guy, this card. Like, that set, you know, I think finest gold from 03 and 02. I think the same can go for like Curry in 09. We're gonna see one day. Like, you look at exquisite, like random dudes like Mike Sweetney, you know, or like hundreds of dollars. So I don't know. I think that's a really cool strategy, is to like pick the iconic cards and then do the whole set with the iconic card in the set. But yeah, the filler years, the dark periods in basketball, you have the same in baseball. Like after Jeter, you know, until Trout, you know, you had Ichiro and Pujols, I suppose, but like there was a pretty big gap. You know, well, you had steroids that kind of killed everything, but you know, there's dark periods in the hobby and undervalued cards. It's a good strategy. I didn't approach it that way. I just kind of look at like, okay, what's the first finest gold set? What's the first chrome refractor set? Like I'm doing 93 finest. That's a great example. 93 finest refractor, both baseball and basketball. First ever finest refractor set introduced. Like that's strategy right there. Pick like the, you know, iconic introduction sets and go after those.
Chris, they want to know, does the bald dude on top collect cards?
He might collect a few cards.
You
mentioned 93 finest 93 finest refractor set, and collectors have been coming to me lately and asking me, what about 90s baseball inserts? Have you taken a look at those, some of the Jeters and Griffeys and stuff like that?
Oh, I'm hardcore, and that's literally from the 90s. The only thing I collect is in baseball is Griffey and Jeter inserts and parallels. I think that's an awesome collecting goal. In fact, I've been quietly working on some ideas for sets in the PSA set registry on, like, you know, the top 20 Griffey inserts from the 90s, that kind of thing. But like, if you look at basketball, all of our favorite cards, they exist in baseball.
Yes, they do.
And they're cooler too. Like, they have hot gloves. Like, how cool would that have been? You know, the cut above, you know, from 96 EX, it's fully die cut in baseball.
Yep.
You know, you got jambalaya in basketball, which is amazing. You don't have that in baseball, but like, you've got Essential Credentials now and future. You've got PMGs. You've got Gym Masters. You've got, I mean, it's you know, there's a lot of crossover there. That's a lot of fun. And Jeter and Griffey are the two guys to chase. I mean, you have Ripken. You got the steroid guys in there, McGuire, you know, Palmeiro and A-Rod. Which, you know, I don't touch.
There's a lot of player collectors who have nostalgia towards 90s guys. Like, obviously, I'm talking about Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, Tracy McGrady. There could be some baseball guys that pop up in those areas as well. I don't know a lot of baseball players from that era, but I'm assuming there's fans of kind of more of the oddball, you know, not Jeter, not Griffey guys who would love to pick up some of those things. And if there's like credentials out of 5 and stuff, that stuff still got to have some kind of value.
Yeah, you see that with Nomo. Remember him, the Japanese pitcher?
Yeah, there you go.
Like, his cards are like, you know, 2 times, 3 times probably what they should be worth. You see that. You see it a lot with Manny Ramirez, actually. Pedro. You see some of these, like, you know, I don't know, these kind of like Hall of Famers, but, you know, not the like household names.
Yeah,
I agree.
Chipper Jones in the chat.
Chipper Jones, yeah.
Nomar Garcia.
Nomaro. You see this a lot with Pudge. Like,
What do you think about like the steroid guys? Do you think they'll ever, like Bonds and McGuire, do you think people will ever sort of, I don't want to say get over it, but like, you know, like some of the romanticism of that era might come back and people might start appreciating those cards?
It's a tough question, man. Like, I grew up with that stuff, and it broke my heart as a collector, as like a fan of baseball. It like kind of ruined the sport there for a long time. So I don't know if you grew up or you were alive during then, probably not. But you'll probably need, you know, the people who remember it to cycle out of the hobby, probably, if I had to guess.
25 years.
Maybe. I don't know. It might take longer than that. I'm hopefully going to still be collecting in 25 years. Yeah.
Got anything else, Chris?
I think we've peppered him with enough. You know, he's given us a good hour here.
That was like, I only have a little bit. I can't stay long, and here he is, 1 hour in, still smiling and happy. So we did.
I didn't realize how early it was. All right,
Watching the fight tonight? Nat, you watching the fight tonight?
No, I'm watching the Aggies, man. We're up. My wife went to A&M, so I root for them.
Well, go
Very
Aggies.
Taking down Alabama.
All
All right. You guys have a good night.
You too, buddy.
Thanks, bud. See ya.
Later.
There you go. Little extra bonus on your Saturday night crossover. Not bad.
That was fantastic, dude.
Yeah,
And honestly,
that could easily be a host of this show.
I mean, don't go crazy. No, I'm just kidding. I thought after we got past the PSA stuff and sort of like the awkward intros, I felt like just three guys talking cards. And I think that's kind of what the nice thing about the show is. It's just you and me talking cards. And I thought he fit nicely into that little theme we have going on.
Yeah, well, we still have an hour to go.
Now we got to get through a shit ton of questions. We're behind.
Well, before we even get to the question, we have mail days, all right? Right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so there was two questions pertaining to the mail days.
Okay.
The first one came from mostly 90s basketball cards. He wants to know, has Josh secretly started his PC? And I think you're going to get an answer to that shortly. And Mahomie Card says, let's take guesses on Josh's new PC. My money is on Chris Paul and Aaron Rodgers. So he put his bet, corner taken sharply, told me his guess was Russell Westbrook. Nat's second least favorite player, I believe.
Well, he gave you a little hint. He was like, I know you're going to be mad. I don't like Westbrook. And I was like, well, geez, it's not like I'm a Westbrook super collector here.
Right. Okay. So there, we had some questions. Without further ado.
Well, I do have a first pickup that's not related to that.
Okay.
That I want to get to, and it has a fun story as well.
All right.
All right. So people know I've been chasing this one for a while. Let me turn the camera around. There we go. People know. Oh, I got the golden side up. Shout out Ken Golden. People know I've been chasing the 97 Ultra Stars Gold penny for a couple months, trying to find one. And Kyle, Wax Museum Podcast, shout out Kyle, sent me just a picture, and it was a picture of that card in a PSA slab. And I said, oh my God, buy that immediately, and I will pay you, get that thing. And it ended up being kind of complicated. The guy wanted only cash. And so I had to so Kyle did me a great favor. He was walking around I just picture him trying to ask everybody hey, can you take PayPal for cash? Because he didn't have the cash on hand at the time. So we found someone who was willing to take PayPal for cash. He got the cash, went back, bought the card, sent me the picture, locked it up, mailed it to me the next day. I paid him a little bit extra for all the help. So again, appreciate you, Kyle. Here it is, 97. There's Kyle in the chat. 97 Ultra Stars Gold. Penny Hardaway. These things are insane, Chris. Because they've got the cracked ice thing going on here. But then if you turn it certain ways, it kind of has a gold vinyl look to it. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit of everything. I feel like it's like a refractor with a cracked ice with a gold vinyl. I just feel like all the modern stuff is they're just trying to be as good as it was 25 years ago, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, shout out to Kyle. That's a great, collector helping collector pickup. Guys, I noticed the chat went dead quiet when Josh was showing the card because everybody's looking at it. If you don't know, the way you can make the chat temporarily disappear is just tap your screen. Tap your screen, the chat will go away, and then you can bring the chat back out again, once you're done looking at the card. So you can get a much clearer view of that card. Yeah, that card looks awesome, dude. Congrats all around.
And the PSA 8 was what I was extra salivating over. I love the non PSA 10 90 stuff. I just love. I don't care what grade it is. And it's the newer slab, so it just kind of makes it easier for me. I don't have to cross it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that one's locked up in the PC.
That's right. I did just give technical advice, by the way. Oh, Josh, somebody from the chat wanted to know if you could put your hand on the screen.
Oh, sure. My screen is not even close to as big as Chris's.
You're welcome, KPB.
It's a 24-incher.
There you go. Okay. Thank you for that. All right, so that's Penny, huge Penny Grail.
Okay, the unveiling of the new PCs that we want to see.
I think it's time.
So I spent a lot of time researching, Chris. I wanted to stress the point that I do not jump into something without thinking it through. I whittled it down to 2 players, and I'll show one of the players who I semi-started and I've sort of given up on, but I'll just show, and Nat hinted at it. I sort of have dabbled with Westbrook. I guess I'll talk about it. Like I just don't like his selection of cards. Like I've spent a couple weeks on it, probably closer to a month, researching Westbrook cards and trying to understand everything he's got. And this is his only non-rookie gold refractor. It's not a prism, and I'm really not doing much prism stuff or Panini. So, I grabbed this because it's like, well, if I need the gold refractors, I got to pick this one up. He doesn't sign much. He really doesn't sign much at all. I think he stopped signing like really early in his career. I think he really only has like rookies and a few in his second year. He's kind of like Luka, where it's just like he just didn't like it and he wasn't doing it. And his exquisite rookie is at a 225, and it's not the best looking. All of his like chrome and finest stuff is like in a practice jersey. His Bowman's in a practice jersey. It just didn't really appeal to me that much. And I just like I couldn't sink my teeth into it. And I'm sure you know this about McCaffrey. Like you have to have a lot of cards to choose from. That's almost as important as the player. Is like, yeah, the player is great. You can pick them and you can be excited about them. But if they don't have any cool cards to buy, what's the point, right?
100%. That's one of the great things about vintage, right? Like Matt was talking about vintage football. They're the great vintage players of the 50s, 60s, 70s. There's only a few cards to even worry about. but for modern players that we're trying to put collections together, we need to be excited about the cards as much as we are about the player.
I have some theories on Westbrook. I've gone over him a bunch on the show. Like, if he had better cards, I would probably continue. I don't know if I will, but like, I think he gets treated a little bit unfairly because of his poor shot selection. He's not very efficient with the shooting. He hasn't won kind of on his own, and we'll see what happens with Lakers. I'm worried about it. Like Nat said, I don't know that it's going to work having that many old guys on a team. We'll see. You can't really like win at the highest level with him as your primary. Like he's got to be your third guy. I think we might see if that's going to work out this year. But all that said, like I think you could say the same thing about Allen Iverson, and I've compared him to Iverson a lot. I think he's very influential in terms of the cultural side of things, the fashion that he has and how he's kind of shifted the way players think about fashion in the NBA. I think he kind of started that. His intensity, his tenacity, the triple-double thing. Dude, he averaged a triple-double 3 years in a row. That's never going to happen again.
Including last year.
He did it again last year?
Last year, okay, so maybe it's 4 times. Last year, he averaged like 22, 12, and 11. Like it was.
They skipped a year and then picked it back up?
It's like a comfortable triple-double.
It's insane.
He definitely is a fashion icon as well.
So, like, it's not our kind of fashion. I didn't mean to say, like, I like his fashion. It's more of, like, he sort of changed the way that the athletes today think about it. Like, they all have handbags now, and, it's different, so.
Oh, he definitely pushed boundaries and made a
like
lot more people able to. Yeah, exactly.
Harden doesn't now. LeBron dresses like a goober. Like, that's the way it is.
I mean, Dennis Rodman wore a wedding gown, so.
And Iverson did all that crazy stuff. And
that's almost an interesting comp. Is
You're welcome.
Rodman.
Dennis Rodman. There's something
sort of
Rodman-ish about him.
Rodman and Iverson. And people who collect Rodman and Iverson today love those two guys, right? Like they really
absolutely
they really love collecting those guys, and they're very proud of collecting them. So I think Westbrook will get there eventually. I just don't love the cards.
Yeah, then that's a great collector topic. Is how important to a PC is the player versus how important is it that the product offering is appetizing? And I think you just. Not only do you just answer it, but you just spoke to experience, having just gone through it. So
I think Westbrook's most expensive card is his 2012 Prism Gold. It like wildly outsells his rookie stuff. So that kind of shows you what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like he's being carried by one card really. And Rodman and Iverson have, especially Iverson, he's got 96 rookie year, same as Kobe. He's got arguably the best set of cards to choose from, and he bleeds into the early 2000 stuff. Iverson has a great selection, so he's got way more options in my opinion.
No doubt. Okay, well, enough with the preamble. Let's get to the big reveal here.
Who was the one that guessed correctly?
Mahomes cards.
Mahomes cards. Good job. It is Chris Paul. So I've been going pretty hard this week. I just started buying this week. I got my first 3 in that I'll show today. I got more coming on the way. Some absolute bangers next week that Chris got a sneak peek of. But Chris Paul's the choice. 2005 has a really cool rookie year. He's in all the cool exquisite sets minus 2003 and 2004 because his rookie year is 2005. He's got a lot of cool Panini stuff, which I haven't got into yet, but I might. He's got all the cool chrome refractor stuff, the golds. So this was like one of my favorite ones. 2008, sorry, one of the more popular chrome sets because they've got the cool action shots. This one's like an overhead shot. I love the PSA 9 stuff. If I'm gonna collect a guy, I don't care to get all 10s, and like I'd rather pick up as many pieces as I can. So I have the LeBron of this, and it's cool to have the CP3 as well. I did see the RPAs at a 3 on Golden, so I'm keeping an eye on those. That's that one. This was extremely cheap. I don't want to make this like everyone go buy CP3. It's more of like the whole point of this is more of like showing the thought and research in the process, similar to what you did with CMAC and like how you approach building a collection, right? And it's like find the player that you have some affinity for and find the cards. And he plays for the Suns now, my favorite team, other than whoever LeBron plays for. So that's an added bonus. All right, this one. Yep, now I'm pumping Chris Paul. I don't know if you can actually pump Chris Paul or Christian McCaffrey, if that's possible. We'll find out, I guess. This is rookie year Bowman Chrome Gold Refractor PSA 9. These are out of 50. PSA 9. I saw the one in on Golden, and I lost that one miserably, and then I found a 9 and jumped on it. So happy to have this one. My lighting looks a little weird. Does it look weird?
It's a little dark.
A little dark.
The card is shining though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it looks like it's like bronze, not gold. I'm not sure how to fix that because it is dark out. I have so many Chris Paul Top Shots, I'm drowning in them. All right, one more. I only have one more right now, and then I've got more coming next week. This is the 2005 Ultimate Rookie Autograph Patch Horizontal, and these are out of 25. So it's the same as LeBron's rookie year, where the Ultimate's out of 250 and it's a vertical and it's autograph only, and then the patch auto is a horizontal out of 25. So a lot of his cards have a lot of parallels to LeBron's rookie year. So I'm able to like kind of I know the roadmap that exists because I've done it with LeBron, so I can kind of follow the same path with CP3. So that makes it a lot easier for me to understand. Like all these cards, this rookie card exists for LeBron, and he's in that he's like standing with the ball next to him. So it's kind of the same like pose kind of thing with like a unique kind of style in the background, and the top's chrome is like in-game photo, so it's kind of the same deal. And then this, like I was saying, is the same kind of thing, and he's in all the exquisites. He's got an RPA and a 99 rookie, same kind of stuff.
How's it feel, man? Those are 3 terrific cards, obviously, and I know there's more on the way. How does it feel jumping into this new PC?
It's fun. That's the only word I'll use. It's fun because let me turn it around. Collecting LeBron, dude, at this point is like a financial chore. It's like my favorite part of collecting is buying cards and getting mail days and researching and saving money. If I have to spend 6 months to get one card that I don't absolutely love, it's just not as fun. If I wanted to get these 3 cards for LeBron, you know how long it would take me?
Long time.
It would take me 3 years. I got all 3 of these on I think I bought them on Monday morning, and it's like, oh, this is a fun Monday. And I'm not saying these aren't that cheap. Like they're still expensive for some people, but the range that I live in, for me, Chris Paul is kind of the perfect price point for me because I can get all the bangers that I want and I can buy them quickly. I don't have to save up for 10 years. I can build a killer piece. It's the same. Like I'll ask the same question back to you for Christian McCaffrey. What about it is so much fun relative to him not being Luka and Jordan.
I think you nailed it. And, you were kind of talking about you've already done the blueprint with LeBron, and now, you're following that blueprint with CP3. And to me, I feel very comfortable and I'm in a good place if I have a mail day or two a week or every 2 weeks that's in the $300 to $500 range. And then the occasional bigger grail card from time to time. And collecting McCaffrey lets me do that just the same way I used to do with Jordan inserts 5 years ago. So that the cadence of just picking up, a nice couple $100 card every week or 2 weeks is great.
That's the word.
Yeah. And so so while I'm on that topic, I had 2 mail days this week myself. Thank you to Trisha Todd, who was interrogating me last week and then agreed that I was a vouch-worthy buyer. This is a McCaffrey NT tag 1 of 1 from 2020 NT. It's my only 1 of 1 NT McCaffrey. Thought that was cool. And then this was a pretty slick looking card. This is 2018 1 of 1 XR. Sweet looking card. I collecting that stuff. It takes me back to collecting MJ inserts. Back when those were affordable. And having the mail days, man, they really make the week, they grease the oil of the week. I don't know if that metaphor doesn't work, but I think you know what I'm getting at.
I do. Yeah, I wanted to be just super crystal clear that this is, and I know I'm speaking for you on this as well, this is not meant to be like, hey, go invest in Christian McCaffrey or go invest in Chris Paul. It's more about like invest in your own sanity in the hobby, invest in like something that makes you happy in the hobby. And for us, it's player collecting, and it's like being completionists and getting our favorite cards of that player and doing the research and the process of buying it and getting the mail days. Like I think it's important to point out that's kind of what we on this platform are advocating for, is like find your Chris Paul, and maybe it is Chris Paul, maybe it's not, whatever. I hope it's someone else so I can freaking buy all the Chris Pauls and you guys get none of them. But I don't know. I just think it's an important topic that a lot of content creators are pumping sort of the angle, and we're pumping the fun of it as best we can.
No doubt. Weekend Update says a week without a mail day makes me irritable. Yeah, that's well said. Card Insights.
People have probably noticed that I haven't had mail days. Like my Instagram is looking dry because
right.
Dude, literally, I'm not a fucking billionaire. I'm a millionaire. I can't just like buy a LeBron card every day, and I just don't get interested in buying the card, like the prices of the cards I'm buying at Chris Paul. I don't get interested in the prices, the LeBron cards that are that price. You know what I mean? Like this like $1,000 to $3,000 range for LeBron. Those cards are not interesting to me anymore. So I have to shift players. That's the reality of it.
No doubt. Card Insights 2 says they've been collecting Walker Buehler for a while. And I've been seeing that evolution of that process. And, I just wanted to give an acknowledgement to that because, it's the same thing. They picked a baseball guy. Kyle's, I think this is the end game of sports card investing. This is when we know that the market has fully matured. When everybody has no choice left but to invest in Jeff Foster cards. I believe that day is coming. So Kyle may be 5D chess way ahead of the rest of us there with that Jeff Foster PC. All right. Anything else you want to say about this before we move on to some questions?
Bunny90 says you have expensive taste. That's right. Chris, you're stuck with me on this one. Like we just don't get interested in like base cards in here, or not it's not to be offensive to people who collect those cards at all. That's just where we're at in the collecting world. We only get interested if it's like serial numbered less to 50 and it's like extremely shiny, or like, it's got an autograph and a nasty patch on it. Like that's kind of where we're at. And so again, we're not able to afford Luka and LeBron for those kinds of cards anymore. It's just not feasible. Like go on Golden right now, Chris, search Luka Doncic, and like good fucking luck.
I don't even search him anymore. How sad is that? I don't check my eBay save searches. I just don't do it anymore. Nat was mentioned. Remember we asked Nat, we were like, hey, what are some of the Jordans left? And like one of them he mentioned was a 98-99 Gem Masters 1/1 and Flair Legacy Showcase 1/1 from 97-98 row 3. Okay, those are like cards that are just get the collector juices going. And the Christian McCaffrey equivalents of those cards is very affordable. The Michael Jordan equivalent of those cards, work your whole life, build an enormous retirement account, cash it out when you're 65, and maybe you'll be able to buy one of those massive Jordan grails. So I can collect. I've always been fascinated by 1/1s, especially like shiny, pretty ones, and ones from not so popular sets. So being able to do that, with the player who I really get excited about is that's dude. I've had more fun collecting McCaffrey than going back to when Luka was still affordable. And then there was like a dry spell in there where it's just like, well, drop 30 grand on the 9th best Jordan card in my collection. No, that's just not.
Tried. Like you can't say we didn't try.
It didn't work.
You bought like the Legacy Jordan, and you bought like that Luka Immaculate, right? And then I bought like some LeBron gold stuff. Like we tried, and then it's like eventually it just wore us down. It just kept getting worse and worse. Like I can't afford any of the cool rookies anymore. And I know some people are like, well, there's lots of cool LeBrons that you can. I know all the LeBrons that exist. I've seen them all. I've seen every card he has, every rookie, and all the ones that I want now are like over 100 grand. That's just the way it is. And the ones that I want that are over 100 grand for Chris Paul, they happen to be like, a couple grand. And it's like, this card for LeBron recently is at auction right now with Golden. It's over 100,000.
Yeah.
It's like, or I could just get 5 of these in a week and a bunch more and a ton of other stuff.
No doubt.
Wait till you see my mail day on Wednesday. I have a mail day on Wednesday. Wait till you see that. I have the sickest CP3 stash coming in on Wednesday. I'm gonna blow your balls off.
All right, so we actually have not answered a single question yet. So let's try and fly through a bunch. All right, let's go like this. That meme, caps lock.
I'll go fast. You're the one that takes forever. Except tonight, I'm the one rambling, but I'm gonna be fast.
All right, let's go. Cards and Candy 911. Christina, you have to answer this too. Cards and Candy 911 up first, baby. Let's go.
Woo.
Who is your Josh and Christina's dark horse NBA MVP this year? Chat, jump in on this too, obviously. Dark horse MVP candidate. Christina, do you have one?
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. Let's
That's hard because Luka's the favorite, so I can't pick.
Yeah,
him.
he's not a dark horse.
So let me think. You go.
Okay, Jokic. He's not up anywhere on any of the MVP rankings, on the MVP odds at all, and Jokic's season last year was so good that they had to change the calculation for player efficiency rating because he was putting up one that was too high.
That's a pretty good one. I still don't have one.
I have one. If I'll give you some more time.
Okay, thanks.
I heard it.
Yep.
Go ahead, Josh. Yeah.
Anthony Davis.
Okay, that's yep.
I think nobody's thinking about him right now because he was hurt. People want to give LeBron and Westbrook credit, and I think Anthony Davis. I mean, I don't think he's actually going to get it. It's more, it's a dark horse. I'm taking a flyer here, but I've always loved his talent, and that's my pick.
Okay. While Christina's still thinking, that I like that take. Rodman says Alex Caruso. a lot of Westbrooks, Donovan Mitchell, LeBron, Donovan Mitchell,
Harden.
Zach LaVine, Embiid.
Harden with Kyrie out.
Yep. Dame. Yeah. Harden, I could see that.
I'm gonna say Tatum.
Oh, that's a good one for a dark horse pick.
Boston is due.
Yep. Okay.
So I'm gonna say Tatum.
All right. Good. Moving on. This one comes from Bruin Killer. The NBA season is about to start. Is this historically a good time or a bad time to buy basketball cards?
It depends on the player. Younger guys, second year guys, like LaMelo, horrible time. The worst. Like people have a ton of hype about LaMelo going into year 2. He's going to be better. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. So the prices are going to go up. I think even historically, guys like Zion, Luka, now would be a bad time. And I would think historically, I'm not saying I would think, historically it's, the GOATs this is a good time. So it just depends on the player. Because like right now the hype is about the preseason, the unknown of some of the younger guys and what the next step is going to be for them.
Yeah, great point. And then I'll make a different distinction. I will say that price-wise, it might be a bad time. It probably is a bad time for guys whose hype is peaking right now, which is young, active players. But also, this sometimes is the only time that you can actually find some of those super rare cards and some of those massive, huge cards of those young guys. This is the only time that they come out every year. So, Josh, did you catch that last part?
No, I didn't. I got cut out a little bit.
Okay, all right, but that's all right. I think the chat got it. All right.
I was gonna say one more thing on this. Sorry.
Sure.
It was Nat brought up vintage a lot tonight, and you and I don't talk about vintage a lot. And he was really bullish on vintage. I actually would dare to say he gave more investment advice in that hour we interviewed him than you and I have ever given on the show. So if you guys were paying attention, Nat believes vintage football, vintage basketball. He may have even used my famous word, undervalued. It's very interesting. It's interesting, right? He's basically saying like there's so much push towards the new stuff and the younger guys that he's just completely doing the opposite. So it's interesting.
Dude, Nat dropped a bunch of insights on the
Freebie.
chat.
Fucking freebies.
Yeah, literally, Nat Turner is giving you a guy who's been collecting nonstop since the 90s, a guy who chose LeBron during his rookie year, a guy who is a tastemaker, and he told you guys. I'll repeat it for now for anybody who missed it, and he pre-1980s vintage football. That's what he called out. Pre 1980 vintage football. So really interesting area to collect. All right, cards and candy 911 again. Who else is buying lots of sports cards in the upcoming months to help lower their tax obligation? Josh, yeah, I just found that comment to be funny. All right, the Pack Profits wants to know, with the number 23 of 99 LeBron Exquisite RPA up for auction at Golden, are jersey numbered parallels of iconic pieces a true premium item? So let me show the card while you talk.
Sure. They just sold another 8.5 with a much better patch. I would rather have that other one than this one. I get the jersey number. I think it's important. A lot of people like it. I get it. I just, I wouldn't probably ever pay the premium for it. I just would rather have the card than the number. It's almost like, I'm paying for the serial number. I'm paying a lot of money for a serial number. It just seems a little silly to me. But I get it. This one's probably going to sell for a lot more. I think it's already past the other 8.5. I just personally would rather focus on the card. What do you think?
I own, to my knowledge, 0 jersey numbered cards whatsoever.
You didn't?
In my collection. So
same thing.
I just don't believe in the premium on a jersey numbered card quite as strongly as the market does. I do think it's cool. I do think it adds value. But a lot of people are looking to this card as a guidepost to tell us how much the jersey number parallel is worth. And so we're gonna have to let the market sort that out.
The patches being different makes that tougher to compare because the other patch was seriously one of the best I've ever seen on that RPA.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And
that's a good multiple triangle cuts on it. It's like,
yeah.
The fact that it's already passed it, I'm like, you guys really value the freaking jersey number.
Yeah, and jersey number parallel rarity is different depending upon depending upon the player's jersey number. And this is a point that the guy who sent in this question he's made to me before as well. You have a player like Zion Williamson who's number 1. So like every 1 of 1 is a jersey number parallel, and any possible numbered card that he has is going to have a jersey numbered parallel. Whereas when you have a player who has a higher jersey number, like a 77, for example, like a Luka, though he has very, very few jersey numbered cards. The card has to have a print run of 77 or high, or 77 or higher in order to be able to have a jersey numbered parallel. So you really only have a very few. So that's a little interesting insight that I'd pass along, but I'm just not a huge guy on the jersey number premium. I'm more about the card than the novelty of the jersey number.
If I see a jersey number card, I openly avoid it because I don't want to deal with the seller being like, oh, also don't forget I'm going to be charging you extra, and I'm like, I don't even want to deal with you. Yes.
Next question. This got mentioned briefly with Nat. This comes from In Cardboard Veritas. Discuss the memory lane auction that is ending tonight. I did just want to throw a quick spotlight on it. There is, in fact, the memory lane auction ending tonight. You've got 51 Bowman Mantle at $300,000. I believe that's pre-BP with the way they calculate it. You've got 33 Gaudy Ruth. Lots of big-time Mantle stuff, obviously. That these auctions are going to be just littered with high-end vintage, insane stuff. Got a Pete Rose rookie, Nolan Ryan rookie. So I just wanted to call out the memory lane auction that's ending tonight. Thank you for the suggestion. From In Cardboard Veritas. All right, next. Mike K. Sports Cards. Any chance of getting PWCC comps from their up-and-coming auctions into Card Ladder?
Yes. We are doing our best. The PWCC team hasn't published the premiere stuff on some of the older ones, but we're working on it. Yes, we're gonna do everything we can.
No doubt, exactly. All right, Shayway Vlogs says, who really should win the Hobby Influencer of the Year? We know that Steve Aoki was awarded Hobby Influencer of the Year at the industry summits. But then I made a post and I said, congrats to Steve. But if you had a vote, as somebody in the hobby community, who would you pick? And I got a ton of different votes. Shay voted for himself. So let's see.
Shocker.
Who would you give that award to? Hobby Influencer of the Year.
I really want to pick us, but I won't. I just made fun of Shay for picking himself. I would probably say this isn't really of the year. I mean, when did the PSA deal go through? Was that this year? That was this year, wasn't it?
That was very early. That was very early this year.
Okay. I will say Nat because he's able to influence on the business industry side, but also, as you saw tonight, he can chop it up with the best of them on the collector side. I just can't think of anyone else that has that much influence on all fronts. It's like the other one is Ken. Ken has had a fantastic year. Those two guys, it's tough to beat those two guys. I think you and I stack up really well, just being completely honest, like not joking. I think we stack up quite well. I think we serve a great base of the hobby, and we speak for a lot of people that maybe don't want to say something or don't have the voice to say it. And like we speak up for the collectors, and we stand up against some of the stuff that we don't think is right. And I'm not afraid to put us in that boat as well.
We accept. Okay.
Wait, I'm gonna say the crossover chat.
Oh, good one.
Oh.
Good one.
So it's like picking ourselves, but not without feeling douchey. So congratulations, crossover chat. You're my influencer of the year.
What's your answer, Chris? Come on.
Oh, here's how I measure my answer. What person has made the most content that I shared? Whether it was by sending messages to people or put into my story because it was hilarious, is very influential on me. And that's Lameem James in a freaking landslide. So I give influencer to Lameem James because I have shared probably 1 in every 5 memes that he makes, and nobody stacks up even close to that.
That's a great answer. I can't argue at all. You're right. Great answer.
I like all the answers, and I accept our nomination of ourselves as well. We take that.
Like this.
Yeah, let's go.
Give us our roses, as they say.
All right, you said we give a voice to topics that other people in other shows typically don't dive into, although at least one show, the Wax Museum podcast, has talked about this topic.
Totally.
and that is the retracing of autographs. The blew up and became a big issue on Card Porn's page today. So Danny Gold messaged me today. That's the name of the person who's behind that account, and he threatened my life. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god! Oh my god, Chris! It's not funny.
He saw that I had reshared a story that said, somebody said topic Danny Gold, and he said, please don't talk about this yet because I'm working on resolving this behind the scenes. And so then I wrote him back and I said, well, are you going to make a statement that addresses all the allegations against you because it looks pretty bad? And he said nothing yet. He hasn't replied yet. And now we're live. And so we need to talk about this topic. It's fresh. It's now. And so, but I'll say this, give anybody a chance to make their side as well. No matter how lopsided the evidence is, no matter how one-sided it is. All I'm going to say is that, he hasn't had a chance to fully form an articulated point of view yet. I don't know if he ever will, but that's what I think is fair, is that let him say something too, and shed his own light on it. All right. So we're not rushing to judgment here, but we're just going to talk about the facts. So a couple questions came in. Cards and Candy 911 says, can we talk about this recoloring of autographs? Slabs for Hayes says, can you discuss the Danny Gold developments and any background you are comfortable talking about? Slabs for Hayes also said, is there a concern now over the authenticity of slabbed autographs? And does that concern increase in light of this news? Card Shop Dad says, can you shout out Kyle of the Wax Museum podcast and his RPA tracker? He is doing the Lord's work. And Mikey the Breaker says, plot twist, Danny Gold is the real signer of the Lulu cards.
Oh my god.
So, all right, man. Do we want it? I don't think we need to do too much background here. I think most people have probably seen the post that showed that there's quite a bit of evidence suggesting that raw cards, or at least a few raw cards, came into the possession of Danny, and then they got graded. And the scans of the graded cards and the pictures of the graded cards show that there have been alterations made to the autographs, in particular that the autographs have been connected where there may have been a skip, or filled in where there may have been a weak point, or traced. And obviously that's unethical and that should not happen. That's an alteration of the card. That's deceptive practices and so on and so forth. That's unambiguously a bad thing, and nobody should be taking markers and cleaning up or fixing autographs. All right, with that said, what do we want to say about this topic, or address any of the questions that people kind of sent in? How does this impact the hobby?
Well, I've said on this show many times that, you and I are willing to give people the benefit of the doubt until there's enough evidence. And I feel like there's a lot of evidence here, so I would be doing a disservice to everyone if I did not call out that I believe there's a smoking gun, there's a lot of smoke, there's definitely some fire here. There's just too much evidence, dude. It's like, I personally blocked this person. I blocked their account. Don't want to deal with them anymore. Don't want to chat with them anymore. I will not be buying cards from them, selling from them, chatting with them. It's just, this is something we need to get out of the hobby, frankly. And, great research by Kyle and by Card Porn again. And that RPA tracker is one of the most undervalued things we have in the hobby. And I'll say that, we went through a period of time in the hobby. You were in the hobby with me at this time when blowout and this scandal thing was kind of front and center, where people were really pushing hard to try to find some of these scandals because the prices were getting really high, and there was a lot of people taking advantage of things. And it was a time in which, the community was rallying together to try to protect what was left of the hobby. That wasn't, which wasn't just prices going up and everything going insane and everyone investing and pumping stuff. And so, you and I took that seriously. We also tried to be reasonable and take both sides of it as best we could. But when there's evidence, and there's, a lot of evidence, you got to take a stand, and you got to get that person out of the hobby, and you got to make sure you're holding them accountable, and there's got to be consequences. And so we as a community need to get this person out. I think it's just too much. I don't know. I mean, I'm all for, giving them their day in court, and I better see some damn good evidence that proves them not guilty at this point, because I've seen a ton of smoking guns.
No doubt.
Also, shout out to Jeremy Lee he once went to Upper Deck and photographed every patch of their product to do a similar. So shout out to Kyle and Jeremy for always being true to the hobby.
Yeah. So yep. And look, I was just kind of showing a little bit of Kyle's RPA tracker. Here's a good reason for why this is an important database. So here's Trey Young's RPA. I brought this one up just for Josh. This 64.99. This card was pulled with visible corner damage on the bottom left, and the card is now a 10, and the corner damage appears to have vanished. So that's why this resource is very helpful. Kyle jots down any notes that may have been associated with the card when it was listed on eBay, and he tries to get the best picture of it possible. So you can access this RPA tracker. Just give a Google search for Wax Museum Podcast RPA tracker, and it'll take you right to it. And he's tracking RPAs of a lot of different players. And, I agree with Josh, too. We can't just sit on our hands when there's an enormity of evidence. It's just, at this point, the burden of proof has shifted to Danny.
Right. And the likelihood, the likeliest scenario is that he doesn't have the information to disprove a lot of this, as you already have noticed, because he just ignored you. I don't know. I don't know what else there's to say.
No doubt. Drake's PC says, what are both of your collecting end games? And if it involves giving cards to your kids someday, what if they only like NFTs?
I've always thought that was kind of silly. Was that your goal was to give it? Because literally, what if you worked your whole life and you get to the end and they're like, meh, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna die with you not even liking my whole life's work. You should always be collecting in the now. Do what's fun for you now. And yeah, you should definitely be thinking about the long-term effects of the decisions you make today, especially financially. You don't want to spend 25 grand on a Christian McCaffrey or Chris Paul collection. That's pretty much insane for most people. But
we are.
I think you should live in the now a little bit more than that. I'm not sure that's a great reason, is to hope that your child eventually likes it 50 years down the road. It's a noble thought. It's an interesting thought. And maybe if you can get him into it now, maybe, and you collect together now, I think that's more important. I would rather you focus on the memories you're creating with your child now, and then and looking back on those memories versus giving them items in the future. That just seems a little bit more silly to me.
Well said. Yeah, and I think you totally nailed it on, how do kids get involved? Obviously, if your kid becomes a collector and wants to carry on, your tradition and your legacy as a collector, that's great, as long as they love it, but that's great. But I think the end goal of collecting is just to have fun and to enjoy the hobby. It's really not anything more sophisticated or complicated than that, and how do you have fun in the hobby? You try to make the best collection, and you make friends, and you compete, and find players, build new collections. But that's the whole point of this hobby, is to have fun and to enjoy it. That's the end game.
Nat said tonight, he said his memories of some of these deals and these flights and these briefcases and stuff are more memorable to him than the actual card. And these are one of ones, and he's got the most insane stuff. And he even said, I remember the stories of it more. If I zoom ahead 30 years, Chris, and I ask you to sum up your collecting life, try to condense. You're probably going to jump into crossover and card ladder and your friends and the community and the content creators you're friends with, and you're going to be oh, and also I have all these cards.
Yep, I totally agree. Okay. Great question, though. Fun question. Sasquatch Card Shop says, set registries, and please discuss set registries and their effect on the graded card market. And I'm just going to loop into from personal experience, having my Christian McCaffrey collection in my card ladder account and having that collection loaded up definitely makes me more excited and have more fun collecting Christian McCaffrey. So I'm not part of any set registries or anything like that, but I definitely have my Christian McCaffrey PC put into card ladder, loading it into card ladder, checking it from my phone whenever I want, having nice, beautiful scans of it. It makes a difference. It makes it more fun.
I think the registry, I liked where you took this because I want to keep going with that, which is that the registry is a representation of your own digital composition organization of it, whether that's card ladder, it's a PSA registry, it's a Flickr account, it's an Instagram account. I think it vastly improves the fun of collecting, like immensely. It's very important. It's a way for you to have your collection with you at all times. It allows you to connect with other people and share it and display it. So it's incredibly important. Otherwise, I think Nat also said this tonight. He said like collecting, what it used to be is you'd have a box of cards and you put them in a dark room, and sometimes when people came over to your house, you'd show them. With all these new registries and set collecting ventures and apps and stuff, it's allowing it to expand into a much more shareable, fun experience.
Definitely. Moose Cards says says what is your favorite modern card design without the hype? And we had a similar question to this several times. Like, what's your favorite card design of modern cards? And so for this one, I actually brought out the cards that I've referenced before, so that I could tell you guys what I'm talking about. I really like Threads. I think Threads are pretty cards, and they're simple. They're a nice break, and they're a throwback to a mid-90s Ultra set. So, some people were scoffing at Threads. Come on, these are nice-looking cards. That's my pick, and I'm sticking with it. Threads, even though it's a retired set.
I feel like I've given this answer many times, but we'll just keep it short. Galactic and Status.
There we go. All right. There you go, Moose. We've talked about that one at much greater length in earlier episodes. Slabs to Men has a fun question for us. What might the next National Sports Card Collectors Convention look like? Meaning, what will fade out and what might be more prominent? Will there be more virtual elements? Will there be 15 different grading companies, or it will return to just a few, etc.?
I really don't think the show has changed that much. Maybe I'm crazy, but the National felt very similar. Short of like, there's a lot more people, there was more businesses involved, but there's always been a lot of businesses involved, new startups and stuff. It doesn't really change. And the people who run that show kind of like to keep it kind of traditional and like keep the fun side of it. And we talked again with Nat about the importance of keeping sort of the same vibe and feel of the card shops with, keeping in mind we need to evolve them and improve them. But like the card shows, we didn't really talk about any innovations we'd like to see there. I mean, maybe I'm just like really bad at predicting the future. I don't know.
No, I think that's fine. I think the underlying sentiment there is that the National doesn't really need to be improved too much. It's a pretty good experience every year.
It's the more digital things get, the more I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. The word virtual may have taken that put a twist on that question for us there. But thank you for the question, Slabs to Men. All right, HO Hall of Fame Vintage Sports Cards says, are signed vintage and rookie cards underrated?
Like license signatures or?
I believe this would be, the way I took this was in-person autos.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I know you're not a big fan either. I've just never been a fan of, altering is not the right word, but like changing the original, what's the word? Changing like what the purpose of the card was supposed to be. Like that's why I like Exquisite, because the card is meant to be autographed. If it's not meant to be, and it sort of feels forced. That being said, some of the really old ones, if you're talking about like Mickey Mantle players that have since passed, there could be some more interesting sides to that. If you've got like an autograph 52 Mantle after he's passed is interesting. But just in general, like I just prefer, and I think the hobby does as well, I just prefer like licensed autographs where that's the intention of it. But like if you have Lucas sign a Prism card, isn't that kind of silly?
We have done that, but
I knew you have. That's why I said it.
But there's something. It's okay. Here's how I answer this question. So there's this big Flawless thing. Flawless is on the rise. Flawless has game used memorabilia in it. Yeah, up and to the right. Okay, but if you were to take, like, let's just talk about Luka, because there's a big Flawless Luka card for sale on one or both of the auction houses. If you were to take that little piece of jersey out of that card and put that little piece of jersey for sale on eBay, it would bring a few $100 at the max. It would not bring much. And the autograph, you can go get Luka's autograph at any time for a few $100 as well. And you can get it on any item. It could be on a basketball. It could be on a sports card. It could be on a flyer. It could be on anything. The where the value comes from in a sports card is that the legacy and the prestige and the brand of the card itself. And that's always been the driver of value in this hobby, is the products themselves. And so to me, aftermarket or in-person autographs, anything that alters the card from its original state is deviating from the way that that item was intended to be presented. And it's unfortunate that there were not autograph cards at that time, but there just weren't. So to me, I'm not so interested or attracted to cards that have aftermarket autographs. That's just my take on that. So they may very well be underrated, because usually anytime somebody writes in with a question like that, there's a dozen more people who are thinking it too. So look, if all you guys are thinking at the same time, you guys all jump into the market at the same time, that market is going to go up. But from my point of view, it doesn't do anything for my collector, my collector interests.
It's one of the more common mistakes, actually, that I see. If I make the stupid video of like, oh, one of my biggest mistakes, it's usually that people tend to think that, they're overvaluing the autograph on the card and they're undervaluing the prestige of the set and the card itself, like you said. I think you illustrated it beautifully with put that patch on eBay without the card, put that autograph on a piece of paper without the card, and it sells for nothing. Nobody cares. People want the flawless. They want them together and licensed, and they want it very okay, this is the product you're buying. You're not buying the autograph, you're not buying the patch, you're not buying the picture of Luka, you're not buying the name flawless. You're buying all of it together.
No doubt. Card Collector 16 points out that for vintage, it's a different situation, because with a 33 Gaudy Ruth, if it has his autograph on it, it's going to go for more. So I don't know. I have no data on in-person Gaudy autographs.
Like I said, it's a 1933 card autograph by someone who's been deceased for a really long time. That's a very different case. If you're, if we're talking about Luka Flawless versus Babe Ruth 1933, sure, there's some exceptions.
No doubt. South Park Cards 2 says, how do you distinguish between trade value and selling value?
I've been thinking about this all day.
Okay.
This is the hardest question. This is the hardest question we got today, and I was just I have to give people a smart answer. And I'm I don't get it. Why are they different?
Enlighten us.
No, I can't. I don't understand why they're different. I see those Facebook posts, and it's 1,000 for sale, 1,200 trade, and I'm I don't get it. Why is it different? The value of the card is 1,000 or is it 1,200? Which is it? And
right.
Someone was well, eBay fees and this and that, and it's but you're not paying eBay fees. It's a trade. It's the same value, and you're not doing it on eBay. It's a in-person. It's a personal deal. I don't get it.
Well, maybe the reason why the trade values are always inflated is because that's an anticipation of the other side of the trade. Also,
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Or the other thing I could think of is that you're anticipating someone wanting to trade up and offer you 10 cards at the value of yours. And in that case, you did this at National, where if you're going to do that and you're going to trade up, you need to offer more than those cards combined need to be greater than the value of the card you're trading for. So that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. Good topic. Jesse J. Pender wants to know, if LeBron is unable to overtake Kareem's all-time scoring record due to some unforeseen circumstance, does that change the landscape for pricing on LeBron or Kareem cards?
I'm too biased.
Yeah, I don't think it does anything to LeBron cards. Also, the likelihood of him not breaking that record is very, very small. Does it maybe make Kareem cards slightly more interesting if somehow LeBron doesn't pass it? I guess. There's just not a ton of momentum. It's very hard for a retired player to generate momentum based on that retired player's legacy. Now, if a whole category vintage suddenly becomes more interesting, people are gonna be intrigued by Kareem because he has an incredible laundry list of accomplishments in the NBA. And whether he's second or first on all-time scoring, I don't think that one makes or breaks him. Same for LeBron. Drake's PC wants to know, has the October 2021 Bermuda Triangle commenced? Not yet, because the NBA regular season has not started yet, Drake. As soon as the NBA regular season starts, then we are in the triangle.
We've got a fan of SEC.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Let me try to skip through a couple here. Card Chop Dad says, do you think we'll ever have a Scooby-Doo type of reveal for the person behind card porn? And I have a take on this. I wonder if you have anything you want to say to that.
You don't have a take on this.
My take is this, all right? Especially in light of the investigative work that card porn does. The appropriate way for that account to conclude its existence is for it to investigate itself. To name itself in the ultimate act of transparency for the hobby, and then never make another post again. Okay. What else? Oh, Kyle Collects wants to let everybody know the WNBA finals start this week, featuring some GOATs. Don't miss it. There you go.
My local team, the Phoenix Mercury. What? Dude, you know how okay, no offense to the Phoenix Mercury, but this is how depressing my local sports fandom is. The only championship I can get is the Phoenix Mercury. I would much rather have a Cardinals Suns championship, but I will settle for the Mercury. Go Mercury. Diana Taurasi, best WNBA player of all time.
Nice. There you go.
Fight me.
Also, Candace Parker is in the WNBA finals, right? Oh, it's the Chicago Sky against the Phoenix Mercury, right? That's the matchup.
Yeah, let's go. Come on.
Let's go.
Is she? Oh, Candace Parker's. Okay, so it's Candace Parker versus Diana Taurasi, two of the GOATs.
Right. Exactly. Ken wants to know if you missed anything interesting.
No.
No, the answer is no. All right, so we're on the very final stretch here. We've got about 7 minutes left.
Can we talk about the just being here earlier in the night, just real quick before we run out of time?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Your poll, I answered the poll, and it was like wildly in favor of sticking with this time, but the numbers are about the same.
Numbers are about the same. I agree.
Numbers about the same. We got a large boost from Nat, obviously.
Right.
But the numbers are about the same.
Yeah, and there is something fun about a late night Friday thing. I like being on the very front end of the weekend. Everybody's in a great mood. Everybody's happy about the weekend. Long Friday. When you get to Saturday, now people are halfway through their weekend. They're getting their bets ready for Sunday football. Sunday night would be terrible. I don't want to lead anybody into a work week. So I like Friday nights. That's my take.
There's different people in the chat tonight than there normally are.
True.
So I think you're gonna have someone, upset either way. Like I don't think we can just kind of appease it unless we just do two shows. Unless we do both.
Two shows is a very interesting proposition. Yeah, and I had people like the Friday truthers. They came out hard for Friday. I've got DMs from people who are like, "Do not change it from where it is right now."
Yeah,
What do you prefer?
Like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, this isn't even my show.
What do you prefer? Because I clearly am the bottleneck here, where I'm the one that's forcing us to do super late Fridays. Which do you prefer?
I prefer super late Fridays. I think that's a fun time zone. Yeah, it's a
that's
fun
good for
zone.
my conscience. So thank you.
Yeah, that's a really fun time
It's
slot.
I really like this, and I hate you.
No, it also feels too early for this show. That's just my take. It just feels early.
After this show, I usually stagger upstairs and pass out. But now I am gonna just continue on with my day. I don't even know what to do after this. Honestly.
I know it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel nothing about this time slot really feels right. But If ever, there's an opportunity to have a guest, like a Nat Turner or something like that.
Who refuses? I mean, he hasn't done the late one. That's why I was like, Nat, we're going early. This is your chance. You have to come on.
That was really smart. That was a smart move. Smart move. And then Nat, man, he was a great guest. I mean, I thought he'd be here for 15 minutes.
I mean, he kind of hinted that, like, he's like, I can't be on too long, and here he is an hour later. I also like to tease Nat about that, so.
We got him on the record on a number of serious and not so serious questions.
I got him to say, what was his thing? Oh,
he said
Luka
is
just an unathletic.
I mean, dude, but honestly, that's high praise. I just feel like that's actually.
How many times have I told you that he reminds me of LeBron? Like this, the way that they control the pace of the game, and like the fact he can get into the paint, kind of. That's LeBron's game. Like he's always able to get into the paint and like drive by people. Luka can do it too. He just does it a little bit differently. And so they're not the best shooters of all time, but they make it work, and their efficiency and the passing, it's just very similar.
Totally. To me, that's what's if somebody said, you're a less athletic Michael Jordan, or you're a less athletic LeBron James, like, I'll take it.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Take into account the prospect side of it. Take into account the fact that one player has been around a lot longer. Take it all into account. Compare Chris Paul and Luka Doncic, and obviously they're like way different styles, but like it's an interesting topic to me because one guy is and I don't want to lead this into like one guy's undervalued or whatever, but like one guy was quite expensive. He's a lot younger. He has more potential. He has bigger stats, I would say, than Chris Paul. But Chris Paul has the longevity. He's got the like obvious Hall of Fame resume. Just whatever you want to take this question.
Yep. So you're talking about two guys at different stages in their career, which matters. But Chris Paul, anywhere that guy goes, he's what they call the very rare instance of a floor raiser and a ceiling raiser. He makes whatever team he goes on better, but he also increases their potential at the same time. And most players only have one or the other. Chris Paul is maybe the smartest basketball player on the court every time he steps on. There's just certain intangible, fun things about him. And having watched him behind the scenes do interviews and stuff. And then Chris Paul just went to the NBA Finals last year. I mean, that's the type of player that I want to go on a ride with. I want to go on a ride with a player who's going to be competing to the bitter end every season. So there's a lot to enjoy in collecting Chris Paul. And also, Chris Paul has these weird, like, closet fans. Like Ryan Russillo loves Chris Paul. When the Suns were going through their playoff run last year, and I was listening to Russillo's podcast, it was fun because the guy was, like, taking a victory lap. He was like, I told all of you that Chris Paul is an amazing player, and he's going to, this was going to happen. And now, finally, everybody's starting to see it. So there's a ton to like about Chris Paul. Incredibly decorated player. He's going to go down in history as maybe best 3 point guards of all time. Maybe he can even get to number 1, depending upon what he does in these final years. He's a consummate professional. He leads the or at least for a period of time, he was the president of the NBA Players Association. I mean, an incredibly intelligent, gifted guy. He has a lot of assets of a player that I personally would seek to collect. He has a lot of those traits, and he's not overhyped. So I think Chris Paul is terrific. I think like Luka gets to apples and oranges a bit. Now with Luka, it's all about where's this train going. Because, while he's had good rookie years and he just finished fourth in the good first few years and he just finished fourth in the Olympics, none of those accolades are getting you to the status in NBA legacy that Chris Paul is at. He's just not there. He hasn't done enough. He doesn't have enough accolades. Hasn't been around long enough. But the flip side of the Luka coin is this, and this is also where like the Mahomes Luka thing is closer than people think it is. Luka has been the best player or the second or the third best player. He's been in the top 3 at his age every year he's been in the NBA. There's nothing to say that continues, but you really can't get much higher in terms of his age 19, 20, 21, and now 22 seasons. So in terms of like what he's accomplished historically up to the age of 22, it's only two other guys, Magic Johnson and LeBron, have been in that group. And people don't look at it that way. You know, how many championships does he have? How many MVPs does he have? 0 and 0. Well, then he can't be compared to Mahomes. But if you analyze Mahomes from the point of view of how good is Mahomes relative to other people in the same age group, it's a pretty even comparison. So that's.
I was hoping you took it the direction of ceiling versus consistency over a long period of time. Because it's definitely apples to oranges, but it's interesting to dive into the collector who would prefer, and we touched on it with Nat a little bit tonight, and I asked him, like, do you prefer consistency over longevity, or do you prefer the high ceiling? And when you get into like LeBron, Jordan, Brady, you get both, right? You get consistency and the ceiling of a really long period of time. And with Chris Paul, you kind of get consistency with like a decently high ceiling, but not really, right? It's like he's not going to be a superstar winning 5 championships. So the ceiling is relatively low, but it's uber consistent. I think he's ranked 9th all time in PER. And Luka, you're really excited about, man, this dude could be, you know, the highest of ceilings. His ceiling, his individual seasons PERs and like where he can go is already higher than Chris Paul ever could. So it's the trajectory, right? Like where can he go with this? Like I like the way you sum that up. Maybe let's do one more question. It's past 8, so let's do one more.
Yeah, let me just 901 Cards said, do not compare a GOAT to a maybe Hall of Famer. Luka Doncic, if he retired today, would absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. He has 2 All-NBA first-team appearances. There is nobody who has accomplished that same thing who is not in the NBA Hall of Fame. So maybe put some respect on the young Bucks name there, because he'd be in if he retired.
And as someone who's watched almost every game LeBron has played, I can tell you unequivocally with great confidence, Luka is the fucking real deal. Yeah, I can see it, man. If you don't want to compare him, fine, whatever. They're not the same age. Of course, they're not like direct comparisons. The point of it is like the ceiling of what Luka can be, to me, is LeBron.
Yeah. A less athletic LeBron. Okay.
That's, I mean, like you said, that's not too shabby.
That's not bad.
You're like Michael Jordan, but like you can't, like your brand isn't as big. Okay, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds really good. This was a weird question, and I'm not good at these, but J Spot Hawaii said, do some pickup lines using the names of sports card products and brands, grading services and grades, and the names of inserts.
You're making me like be clever at this late in the game.
I know, dude. I can't do it. I can't.
Why would you do that? No. Ask me about like, you know, hot shots versus like whatever. Come on. There's no way I'm gonna be clever enough to be like, oh, your body's flawless. There we go.
Yeah, you could work in like the National Treasure there.
You're a PSA 10 in my book. You know, that's horrible.
This is where Lefko would shine here.
Yes, thank you. Like this is a chat question. That is absolutely a chat question.
This is a Friday night.
Yeah, this is a Friday 1 a.m. question. Yeah. Okay.
Use some goddamn judgment, Chris. My God.
I'm just dropping that bomb on the chat, and then the chat can come with stuff.
Justin's in the chat at the end of the show. That's when you know this is a weird night.
Yeah, dude, it's nice to see Justin in the chat.
He tells me to buy penny sleeves, and he's screaming at me, so this is great.
Yeah, penny sleeves are. Dorman Stash says he wants a cards and candy reveal.
Wait, hold on. This card came from Justin, by the way. I didn't say that earlier.
Oh,
Justin told me this, so
nice.
If I'm gonna give Kyle the shout out for the penny, Justin has to get the shout out for this card. So thanks, buddy. Well, because I was like, I need a penny sleeve for this to be able to grade it, and he's like, oh wow, you don't have penny sleeves for thicker cards? Like, go buy some. I'm like, you're right, I will.
Okay. Drake's PC. Okay, here we go. Drake wants to know, why are NBA Logo Man cards valued so much higher than their NFL Shield counterparts?
Ooh. Um, you know what it is? You know, one thing, this is silly, but it just rolls off the tongue, Logo Man. Shield is just kind of like, the shield of what? What are you blocking me from?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like the branding of it. Like we've been saying earlier with like the flawless comparison and stuff. The brand and sort of the way that it presents itself and the historical part of it is very important. And you've got Logo Man basketball going back to 2003. And the shield is kind of, at this point, the shield is kind of the follower. And it's like the one trying to be the Logo Man. And it's just not quite the same. That's just my take.
Yeah.
Also the shape, the Logo Man, like the shape of it fits very nicely on card designs. The shield is kind of like more squarish. I'm reaching it. I'm grasping at straws.
I'm gonna ask Rodman and Justin to find a private chat before the next message gets sent after the last one.
Yikes.
And Anthony points out they aren't anymore. That there's something to that too. Some of the NT shields of these new guys, the Herbert did close to $500,000. So
also, yeah, the Logo Man, Drake's in the chat, right? He said the Logo Man actually has a player on it.
there you go.
Did you do that?
Actually, yeah, I just put that up there. I actually cannot see Drake's comments. That's very annoying. I didn't even know Drake was here. Okay. Here's a question that came from the stories that got submitted after the show started. How would you like to be remembered in the hobby?
Oh, man. I want to be remembered as the person who saved the... No, I'm just kidding. I want to be remembered as someone who... I don't know. I want to be remembered as being more thoughtful towards the collecting side of the hobby and sort of push back on the notion that like the hobby is only successful because of the money and the hyping and the shilling and more of someone who brought light to the collecting side of it, and that being the reason that it's so successful. The stories, the designs of the cards, going to like arena designs and kind of putting more light on that sort of the side of the hobby versus being just another person who came in, shilled it up, and pumped it up as a great investment.
Yeah, can't even follow that one up. That's a good answer. Let me point something out. Justin says football theoretically should be much more rare. 17 football games versus 82 NBA games when he's talking about the appearances of shields versus Logo Man cards. And also in football, they reuse jerseys. I've heard Carvin talk at length about this.
Packers and the Patriots.
Yeah, jerseys get reused by certain teams, so there's going to be even less. I like Carvin's answer, in fact, to this question too. Just remembered as true collectors and sports card community leaders. That's goals right there.
What's in there?
I like that. When can I buy a card ladder NFT?
Fucking never. That's when.
All right, are we good here? Are we drawing this thing to a close?
Are we good here? Like this is some sort of business meeting? All right, guys, the board meeting's over. We voted. Are we good here?
Second.
Any last minute action items you got for me, Chris?
I don't know. I mean, I thought you might have had to go on the dot on the hour. So. Well,
we passed that, so I'm already.
Are we continuing on for a little while here?
No. This is your punishment for moving the time on me. I have to be a little bit of a dickhead right now.
Wait, what?
No, please. More.
I want to know what you're doing to make me move the time.
Huh?
Wasn't it Josh who moved the time?
The time got moved twice. Josh moved it once the day. I moved it up.
That's a great point. I forgot that I was the one that moved it.
I tried to middle that path. Christina's
you're like, well, if you're going to move the day on me, then I get to have it earlier. And I'm like, that makes sense.
All right. Good show. Thank you to Nat for coming on. We'll see you guys in 6 days rather than 7.
Oh, that's a nice bonus. It's like a Thursday night football, short week. Or Monday night football. It's like a short week.
Hopefully no injuries on the short week.
Price guide and market analysis tool for sports cards. The best tools to help you track your cards. Watch the trends, stay informed, compare cards, and track the growth of your personal collection, all in one simple and intuitive platform. Join the innovators, not the imitators. The future is here. The future is now. Card Ladder.